Should you get Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar on the Switch or the Switch 2? I've actually been asking myself this question ever since they revealed that Grand Bazaar is also going to be available on the Switch 2 as well as the Switch 1, as it would pretty much mean getting a Switch 2 as soon as it comes out in order to ensure that it's available and it hasn't all sold out before Grand Bazaar comes out. However, it's really expensive right now, and I wasn't sure if all the added stuff they're putting in for the Switch 2 version is worth it for being able to afford both the new console and the new game just randomly in the summertime, which is not usually when I make a lot of big purchases. I'd usually save it for the holiday time. So I did a lot of research and I wanted to see how worth it I thought it was to shell out and make a big purchase, and if there was enough extra content added in for the Switch 2 release that would make it worth it to buy instead of just playing it on the Switch 1. So I've compiled some of the information I found about it into this video, so hopefully people can make an informed decision and see if it's even worth it to purchase the Switch 2 to play this on. First, there's the price to consider. Now, obviously, if you want to play Grand Bazaar on the Switch 2, you're going to have to purchase an entire Switch 2. That's going to be around $400 to $500-ish with all the stuff going on in the economy right now. I think it's kind of up in the air about how expensive it's going to be. I think it's kind of going back and forth of the price and if it's going to be even available for pre-sale right now at all. So there's definitely that to consider. Then you have to consider, of course, buying the game itself. Now for the standard edition, which is solely just the game, it is $50 American for the Switch and $60 American for the Switch 2. Then you have to consider if you're going to get the premium edition, which is $70 for the Switch and $80 for the Switch 2. The premium edition comes with an original soundtrack, an art book, a sheep plushie, a poster, and a storage box for the game. The basic edition doesn't have any of this stuff, so you're getting all of that additional merch for about $20. So no matter if you're getting the basic edition of the game or the premium edition with all the merch, the Switch 2 version will always be $10 more than the Switch 1 version. So that's also something to consider. At this point, you might be wondering why the Switch 2 version of Grand Bazaar is about $10 more expensive than the Switch 1 version, no matter what bundle you get. And that's because the Switch 2 version is allegedly going to have better frame rates and a better run on it than the original Switch 1 will have, which makes sense because the Switch 2 is a much newer system and apparently it has very, very good specs and all of that, which makes it being able to run a lot more games and a lot more complex games than the Switch 1 ever was. So it's not surprising that it's definitely going to run Grand Bazaar better if you do buy the new Switch. So if that's something you care about and that's something you're willing to spend buying a whole Switch on and the extra $10 on, if you care about that kind of thing, then that might be a worth enough trade for you. However, if you're not somebody who super cares about how smoothly your game runs, especially considering this is a very low maintenance, not super graphically challenging game, honestly, you might not even notice the frame rate differences if you played it on the original Switch. So I really don't think that's something you really need to care that much about unless you're somebody who really pays attention to those things. Honestly, if you're someone like me who would honestly not really give a second thought to that, I don't really think it would be worth it to buy an entire Switch 2 and pay the extra $10 just to see it in better quality. From what other reviewers have said who have already played the game pre-release, nobody so far really has any complaints with how Grand Bazaar runs on the Switch 1, probably because it was originally created to run on the Switch 1 before it was ever made to run on the Switch 2, so you really shouldn't have any worries about performance or anything. It's only if you really, really care and you might notice any slight frame drops. But honestly, I really wouldn't be too concerned about it. There is even a little bit of information online about the digital version that you can buy for Grand Bazaar, If you buy the digital standard edition of the game, you'll also be able to get a cow set DLC. The price of the digital standard edition is the exact same as the price of the physical standard edition for both Switches, so $50 and $60 respectively. Then there's the Digital Deluxe Edition, and this one includes the Cow Set DLC as well as the Trunk of Transformation DLC. The only listed price for this is $60. I'm not sure if it's available on only one system, because so far both the systems have had different prices for the different editions, but so far this one's only listed at $60, so it may only be available for one. I'm also not exactly sure what the Cow Set DLC and Trunk of Transformation DLC are referring to. I've not seen any images of what this might be or any articles about it. So far, the only thing I can think of they might be would be perhaps clothing options, as I don't think they'd reserve a super important DLC to only be available if you get the digital edition. You can also get a Super Digital Deluxe Edition that'll feature all the content you get from the Digital Deluxe Edition, as well as a digital soundtrack and a digital art book, and this one's priced for $70. Although so far I can't find any information on whether this is available for just the Switch 1 or just the Switch 2, so I guess just look closely if you are somebody who is interested in buying the digital edition of the game. However, of course, always keep in mind that you can upgrade your copy of Grand Bazaar at any time. Once you buy the Switch 2, if you already have the cartridge for the Switch 1 and have already played it on there, you can upgrade your copy and make it a Switch 2 version at any time by paying a $10 fee in order to upgrade your game and get all the features and all the specs and frame rate that you'd get if you had originally bought a Switch 2 edition. I hope all this information made it easier to decide whether you might buy the Switch 1 or Switch 2 version. I have decided that the Switch 2 version is what I'm going to be playing it on, as I'm actually graduating university this summer and I've been able to get it as a finishing university present, so I'm very grateful. I'll be able to play it on the Switch 2 as it comes out right away. My boyfriend is also buying me the premium limited edition with all the special merch that comes with it. But I'd love to know what version you're thinking of getting, which console you're getting it on, and if you're getting the basic or premium edition like me, I'd love to know. And if you have any other questions, just let me know, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!